Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Anti-Aging Hacks podcast. Today, I have a very special guest. Her name is Judy Seeger, and she is an expert in many things, but she's got a lot of expertise in the detox world. But she's also an expert in ozone therapy and how to administer ozone safely for a lot of benefits. So, Judy, welcome to the Anti-Aging Hacks podcast.
Hey, thank you, Faraz. I'm so excited to be here. There is so much information about ozone therapy that hardly anybody knows, and I'm going to share everything I know in this 45 minutes. So we're going to talk really, really fast and try to squeeze a whole bunch of stuff in. So yeah, as you know, we've been chatting back and forth for the last year or so, and I'm a naturopath, been in this 30 years, did lots of different things, hyperbarics to detoxing of all different kinds, but it was ozone that really caught my attention 10 years ago. And I use it in my clinic for 10 years and then found out, oh, you know what, I could teach people online and reach more people. So I got into videos and all these other things, and now getting the word out, especially the anti-aging crowd who is so concerned about their health, especially now. They're doing everything they can to protect their immune system.
Mhm.
Ozone therapy is the number one go-to. I still do it every single day. I encourage all my clients, everybody who ever hears about it once, go find out more, because this is the one therapy that I have seen be consistently the most powerful to help people.
That's amazing, Judy. I can't wait to dive in because I haven't known about ozone for too long, actually, to be honest. I've been doing other things, and we've been talking for a year, and I looked up into ozone recently to see what it does, and I was actually taken aback in a way by some of the benefits that ozone has. And most people listening might think of, okay, I know what oxygen is, which I breathe every day. I know what ozone is. It's a gas in the upper atmosphere that protects us from the sun's harmful radiation. But what is ozone doing in our body? So would you explain how we even discovered ozone and why it's so beneficial to us?
Yeah, so there is such a misconception about what ozone is. So let's break it down. First off, it's been around over 150 years ago. There's a scientist, Dr. Shambaum, who found about it and started using it with people. And back then, infections were very, very prevalent, and especially during surgery. And they just, do the surgery, and next thing you know, the person got an infection and died, right? So it wasn't even due to the surgery. So he discovered ozone, which simply means to smell. It's a Greek word, to smell. And what he discovered is, oh, if we put some ozone in the area, then the infection doesn't happen and the people make it. So fast forward about 50 years, and Nikola Tesla, maybe a few people have heard of Tesla, he discovered, oh, let's make the ozone generator. So now we could use it in other places. So he patented the very first one in the 1890s. Very cool. So that's 1890s. We're now in 2021. Wow, that's
Yeah.
pretty incredible. That's been around that long. And he's the one who patented it. Tried to get JP Morgan to help him invest and get the word out, but JP Morgan went a different direction, as we all know. He went
Mhm.
into finances and pharmaceuticals. And so there was Tesla. But the generator was then used in World War II, where a lot of the German soldiers were getting gangrene. Again, infection. Use the ozone, no gangrene. Wow.
Mhm.
So that, all that history is a long, long history. And of course, now there's studies, there's hundreds of thousands of studies in PubMed, in journal of medical journals that are talking about how ozone has helped. And we'll talk about all that as we go through the interview, because it's so important to understand that there's a long history of it. And media has unfortunately given it a bad history. And the reason is because that ozone layer you're talking about, well, what that's created by is, unfortunately, all the emissions from corporations and cars and air pollution. And as the carbon dioxide builds up and builds up and goes to the Earth's outer atmosphere, it starts to disintegrate it. And that's the real issue. Now, where ozone really comes from is nature. And that's what's so cool about it. It comes from thunder and lightning and the ocean waves. Well, what does that mean? So as the sun has the UV lights, I wish I had like a little model coming down here. So the sun has a UV lights, ultraviolet rays coming out. As the rays come down, it splits these oxygen atoms that are floating all over the place. And so some then form together to make O2, which is oxygen, and then some form together and make O3, which is ozone. So that's natural, right? And then as that forms and it comes down, especially after a thunderstorm, I know sometimes people feel like, oh, I feel like energetic, I feel tingly. What is that? It's because there's a lot more ozone in the air due to the thunder and lightning, everything stirring it up. Same thing on the ocean. When the ocean waves are coming, it's splitting up those atoms left and right. And the ones that form into O3 are the ones that give us extra oxygen. Now, the good thing about that is it's giving us the extra oxygen, it's building up our immune system, it's going into down to our cellular level and gives us what we need to build up our immune system. However, if you're getting a little bit too much, which we'll talk about, is like, well, what happens if you get too much? Is it dangerous? It's just extra oxygen. It's nothing's going to happen. It's got like a 0.0000007% side effect rate, right? So the numbers are there. It's like there's just no way that extra oxygen is going to harm you. That said, we always put a disclaimer, always talk with your practitioner, whoever you're working with, to make sure that you're not going to have any side effects and all that kind of stuff. We don't want to make any claims here, but understand this, that because nature creates it through the thunder and lightning and ultraviolet rays, and then through the ocean and then churning it up, it's just extra oxygen. That's the best way to remember it. It's oxygen on steroids, and anything we get more oxygen into our body, the better our immune system is going to be, the stronger it's going to be, right?
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, thank you for that vivid description, if you will. It makes a lot of sense, and people can understand how this comes about. Now, you said that the technology was invented by Nikola Tesla. Amazing. It was used on gangrene, which suggests to me that it was used on skin conditions on the exterior. How did oxygen start being used in the interior? I know there's different modalities where you can inhale it, or you can do other things, and you can inject it. How did we find out about the benefits of injecting or taking oxygen into our bodies?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And all your questions are great, Faraz. You're one of the best interviewers out there, just to
Oh,
let you know.
thank you. Thank
So
you.
here's what's so interesting. I don't know exactly who was the one who decided, oh, let's use ozone intravenously. Probably when IVs first started, maybe like 50 years ago or so. But here's what's so interesting. Scientists and researchers are always trying different things. There's many, many different ways of using ozone. So let's go from the simplest, and then we'll go into the more complex. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
So first thing first is you could take ozone, which is a gas, and it has to be stabilized in something. There's two places that could be stabilized. One is in water. So you could take a glass of water, put an ozone tubing in, have the little generator go on, and then next thing you know, that cup of water is ozonated after a few minutes, right? You'll see the bubbles coming up and you could actually smell it. It has a very distinctive smell. Some people like it, some people don't, but it's not a heavy smell. So then you could drink it that way. The challenge is water is a very poor stabilizer and it will only stay there a few minutes. If you put it in the refrigerator, the cold will stabilize it a little bit longer, but you don't really want to drink cold water all the time. So we say drink the ozonated water throughout the day. We have had people who have had, let's say, a case study of somebody who had thyroid cancer. And it actually went into his throat, like his whole mouth, like it just spread, and this guy was like, listen, I'm not going to do a whole lot here, but if you're telling me ozone works, fine. He was fanatical. He took 12 glasses of ozonated water. He just kept drinking and drinking and drinking, cleared it up. Isn't that
Wow.
crazy? He just cleared it up, but he was
Wow.
very, very faithful and committed to it. So that's just one case study, right? What about, let's look at the big picture. Well, so the next way that ozone can be used is in capsules, suppositories, and oils. So the olive oil, can be used, but there's any oil that could be used. You could use anything from sunflower oil, coconut oil, jojoba oil, hemp seed oil. All these different oils can be used because they're a solid stabilizer for the ozone to go in. Now, to manufacture, it takes many, many weeks to get it in. It takes a long time because think about it. Oil is heavy, condensed substance. And now you're putting a gas into it, like you're injecting that gas. It takes a while for the oil to actually saturate it with the ozone. But once it does, you have a product now that can be used in 3 different ways. So the capsules are great because as you ingest the capsules, what happens? That ozone goes into the stomach. And if there is an imbalance, let's say, the acids are off, you're too acidic, too alkaline, whatever, the ozone starts to churn things up because of the extra oxygen, right? And as the ozone goes through the system down into the small intestine, large intestine, it's dealing with all the bad bacteria going down the pipe. Now, remember, it's capsules, so it's small. It's not going to deal with all of it, but enough where if there's, I've seen it with IBS and Crohn's and SIBO, a lot of these bowel infections that are just go into throughout the whole gut, the whole GI tract, that ozone goes in there and slowly but surely starts getting rid of the pathogens, the bad bacteria that have built up and works on it, right? Now, the other fun one that I love to talk about is ozone suppositories. So again, you're taking a little stick of oil, right? It could be olive oil, it could be coconut oil, whatever, saturating it, but then it gets hard, right? So they harden it, and now you're going to insert it rectally, and women can insert it vaginally. Oh my God, that's like a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
Because now if somebody has a UTI, somebody has vaginal issues, they have vaginal dryness, all things. I know you guys, you don't get any of that. But for the women, we're talking now here, right? That makes such a huge difference, right? You put it in, it's just like a tampon, you leave it in overnight, no fuss, no muss, and next day that ozone has done its job to go after the bad bacteria, the yeast, and all that kind of stuff. Now, rectally, everything, I love things that go in rectally. I know we don't like to talk about that either, but well, because I was a naturopath and I dealt with coffee enemas and colon hydrotherapy for years and years and years and did a lot of good helping people. So now I'm finding out, oh, we could do suppositories. How exciting. So you put it in, and again, you just let it go and think about the whole night. It's going through the large intestine, which is about 5 feet. Then it could go through the small intestine, right? So it's working and getting rid of the stuff that doesn't belong there. And then when you have your bowel movement, bam, it just comes out, and it's super simple. Now, is it as effective as the next level? Yeah, not really, right? It's going to be on the lower end. So the next level is ozone for home use. So home use is meaning insufflations. Insufflations are super easy. It's just another word for inserting. So for example, you could do ear insufflations. You could take a stethoscope, attach it to that little generator that Tesla created so many years ago and is now so much easier and convenient to use. Plug it in, turn it on, and you put it in your ears. And the next thing you know, it could clear the eustachian tubes. If there's sore throat, the glands are swollen, thyroid, anything from here on up, brain fog, all that. I used to use it in my clinic all the time. Put it in, done, right? So that's ear insufflation. Then you could also use it in a sauna. Love the sauna. When I had Lyme disease, that's the one place I went, and I just felt so fantastic because your skin is the largest detoxification organ you have.
Yeah.
So you go in the sauna, open up the pores, right? You're sweating, opening up, and then you let the ozone come in. So it's coming in your whole body. It's so cool. So it comes in your whole body, and then it goes right down to the bloodstream. Now, the cool thing about that is as it enters the bloodstream, any pathogens that are in there, could be bacterial, mold, Lyme disease, yeast infection, any pathogen that the body is dealing with, it will go in through the skin and start dealing with it, right? And then as you're sweating it out, you sweat out the toxins, the ozone comes in. It's a very nice exchange that you could do, right? So that's the sauna. And then rectally and vaginally, you could also do ozone gas coming in. And people are like, oh, do I want to do a gas up my butt? Well, yeah, because it works. What could I tell you? That ozone gas comes in. There's a very famous doctor, Dr. Sylvia Menendez, that speaks and teaches doctors from all over the world. She's from Cuba. Lots and lots of work being done in Cuba right now with ozone therapy, very successful. And I talked to her about it because I work with people with Crohn's and colitis and IBS and that kind of stuff. And I said, people are getting cramping, right? And she said, it is a gas. So if it goes a little bit too fast, you got to just slow it down. Went back, told my clients, no problem. So that's the worst that could happen, is a little bit of cramps. And the guys are not used to having cramps. So they're like, I don't like these cramps.
Yeah.
But it's going in. The cool part is it goes in through the whole large intestine, small intestine, all the way up the GI tract. And it just does so much work to be able to spread and get out there. So we talked about vaginal, rectal, ozone insufflation, ear insufflation, sauna, water. So that's the mid-level that you could do
Mhm.
at home, right? And then the very highest level, of course, which is what most ozone doctors do, are intravenous or shots, right? So intravenous simply means that blood is taken out, and then as it goes up a tube, it's mixed with ozone, and then it comes back into the body, right? So it's killing it on the blood cell level, right?
Is that the 10
And
pass
that's
therapy? Is that what it's called?
no, it's called MAH, major autohemotherapy.
Okay.
Now,
Got it.
because it's done once, when you do it multiple times, that is the 10 pass.
Hmm.
So the advantage of the MAH when you do it once is that it goes in once, you're cleaning everything out, and your body could rest and recover, right? Ozone is very, very strong. It's oxygen on steroids. So when it comes in, it's killing a lot of things. So
Mhm.
if you're not detoxing, if you're plugged up, if you're constipated, if you're not sweating, a lot of women don't sweat. If you're having any issues with your kidney, if you're having gallstones, all these issues, when the blood is getting cleared out with the ozone, will back up and you're not going to feel good. So it's very
Mm.
important to do some detoxing before that, and then you don't have any problem. Like none of my clients ever had any problems, but a lot of these clinics that you go to, they say, oh, I didn't feel good and I got sick, so I stopped. And I'm like, yeah, that's because you didn't detox, right? So that
I
was the
see.
real issue. So we'll get
Mhm.
into that. But the bottom line is that 10 passes many, many times that you do it. But the challenge with that is that while it's good because it's going over and over and getting rid of the pathogens in the body, the toxicity levels, that the veins cannot handle that. It's very hard on the veins. And so a lot of times people's veins collapse, they can't continue and they get frustrated, and then there you sit, right? So, that's a challenge there. The other one is prolozone therapy. Love prolozone therapy because I have frozen shoulders. I'm getting old. I'm 63. And I was like, I couldn't lift my arms above, and I'm a swimmer, and I couldn't lift my arms up. I couldn't sleep. It was like, I never had shoulder problems in my life. Went physical therapy, did arnica gel, did massages, did everything I knew as a naturopath, and nothing worked. I suffered for a year. And so one of my friends who's an associate said, well, do you know about prolozone? You know about ozone. Why aren't you doing prolozone? And I was like, what is prolozone? Like, I had never heard of it.
Mhm.
And this was just 2 years ago. So what is prolozone? It's taking a needle with procaine to freeze it, because you're going to go deep into the joint, right? Anytime you go deep into the joint, a lot of tendons and ligaments there. And so it will be painful. So they put in procaine. And then the next thing they do is they like a little mineral mix, right? So it's going to be a vitamin mineral mix depending on what you need, because sometimes if it's bursitis, it's one thing. If it's a torn tendon, it's another. But they put a little vitamin mineral mix. Why? Because when the ozone goes in, it interacts with the vitamin minerals, spreads that out, and immediately takes the inflammation down. And I'm like, yeah, right. Okay, whatever. I mean, these are my friends. I was being polite, right?
Yeah.
But literally, I couldn't lift my arms up, and they gave me the shot, which was painful. I'll be the first to say it. For me, it was painful. But within 10 seconds, I was able to lift my arm up. And 2 years later, I've not had any problems with it whatsoever.
One
I'm like,
shot did that.
oh,
One shot did that.
one shot, 10 seconds.
Oh, wow. Fascinating.
I know. So this is why your anti-agers need to know this. This is
Yes.
powerful, powerful stuff. And then 2 weeks later, I went to another doctor because I was doing work with him, and he did my other shoulder, and sure enough, 10 seconds. Now, this shoulder, for some reason, after 2 years, is starting to tweak a little bit.
Mhm.
And I'm like, and I've been doing my exercises, whatever. So I said, no, I'm not doing that deep thing again. That's not happening. And plus, it's very hard to find ozone doctors, right? It's
Yeah.
very difficult. So what I did was I said, okay, well, what else can we do? And so there's another technique that you could go on the outside. And what happens is if you put an injection here, then it spreads about 2 inches. Now that's going to still get the area, right? It's still going to do that. And it's still going to get the, bam. Oh, I just had it done yesterday. Absolutely
Mhm.
zero pain. Now,
I got you.
that's it. Yeah. So we have people with knee pain, hip pain, elbow pain. We had a guy, a mechanic, who could not close his hands. He was in so much pain, and he could take pain. He was a big dude. He was tough. he couldn't close his hands. He was in pain. So, and he had carpal tunnel. We shot him all the way around, every knuckle. We just shot that thing with ozone, right? Just a lot of shots all around. By the time we were done, he was able to open and close his hands. And
Wow.
seconds,
It's
just like
fascinating.
that, right? Now, will it last?
Yeah.
Will it last? Because that's, we're going to speak truth here. No, it's not going to last unless you make some changes. You got to do some anti-inflammatory. You're going to have to get into more protein. I'm
Mhm.
sorry, vegetarians are, you're going to have to go get some real meat there. I mean, I had to make some changes this year with that as well. You're going to have to sweat more. You're going to have to get your detox channels going more so that as the toxins are coming out, they're not plugging you up. Because if they plug you up, that's when you start getting arthritis and stiffness and all this kind of stuff. So the ozone gets everything moving. It brings the pain inflammation down in seconds, but you got to work with it. Right? Ozone can't stand by itself. You got to do some of these other things. That's where you get results.
Okay, fascinating. Thank you, Judy.
So that was going to be my longest explanation. The rest we could just go short clips.
That's fine. No, thank you. There's a lot that you touched on, so I want to come back to some of those things. And I'll ask you some questions about detox as well towards the end of the interview. But coming back, I think you gave us 3 to 4 different protocols, or I guess different levels, I should say.
Levels, yeah.
One is where you can just go purchase either a capsule, or you can purchase a suppository, or solid material that you put up vaginally or rectally. That's probably the cheapest, I would assume.
Yeah.
The second is where you buy a device at home, DIY, and you can have this hooked up to all the edifices in your body, if you will, and do that yourself. I assume this is going to be expensive up front, but over the long term, it's probably a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And then thirdly, you said go to a doctor, get injections, or the pass therapies, one or multiple passes. I assume those are the most expensive, but you're in good hands. You're not doing it yourself.
Yeah, well, here's the thing, the capsules and if people want to do it at home, most people don't like to do it at home. They'd rather have help with somebody, but I offer all that. I take care of people. I do all ozone because I've been in it so long. But the injections, I do them here in Florida because people have been asking me, says, where can I go? I said, well, listen, I'm not traveling, especially now, but if you come to Florida, I'll take care of you. We just had a cancer patient come down. She had it metastasized. The pain was off the chart. She says, listen, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm a 20. I can't take it. I'm inflamed. I can't sleep, and that's a dangerous situation. So we started doing ozone with a lot of other nutritional IVs for her. Within 3 days, the pain was down to a 2. And then she was able to, and she couldn't move her arms neither because she was inflamed. She was able to move her arms. She was able to, be more mobile, all because the ozone with the nutritional IVs, that nice combination. And of course, we changed her diet, made all the difference in the world.
Okay. So on the things that you talked to me about, which ones in particular do you do? Do you do the IV?
I do them all.
Do them all? Okay.
I do because I realized that as my hands were getting stiff, I was like, well, those are signs of arthritis. So I changed my diet first. Diet is the foundation. Look, anybody who's into anti-aging, if you don't know that, then you've got your head in the sand, and you have to get your head out of the sand and say, look, vegetarianism is fantastic for some people in certain seasons of their life. I was for many years. And then there was times I was a vegan when I was doing some heavy cleansing due to gallstones, kidney stones, and lots of pain. Then I switched to Mediterranean, and now I'm into carnivore. I do just carnivore, and I feel fantastic. It's like I can't do carbs anymore. I love bread. I'm Hungarian, Eastern European woman. I love my bread. Yeah. Nope, can't do it anymore. I look at bread, I put on 5 pounds. Stop that. You know how it goes, right?
Look at bread.
So it's like, doggone it. So I switched to carnivore, and I noticed things started getting better. But then I have my own ozone kit at home because I had it in my clinic. So I do saunas 2 to 3 times a week, which is great because sauna already, you're sweating. It's fantastic. So I add sauna to it. Or ozone to it. And then I have the ozonated water. And then when I'm traveling, especially, I do the capsules, right? Because I have the ozone unit at home, right? But then now my nurse team, I've trained them on ozone. Says, hey, once a month, twice a month, let's do some shots, right? Now, I don't need that many anymore because I've gotten to that level. But when people first start out, sometimes you need them 2-3 times a week. So you could do that with an ozone doctor. There's a few in every state. You kind of have to look them up. Ozone doctor, prolozone therapist, anything with ozone in it, they are there. But I will just tell you, I worked with a cancer patient not too long ago. We couldn't get him an appointment. They were backed up for 3 months.
Wow.
Right. So
Yeah.
when people find out about ozone and how good it is and how good they feel, those doctors are booked solid. This is why I'm now, thankful that I could get on the podcast and say, look, get your own stuff, get going, or come down here, do something proactively where it's in your regime. There is nothing else like it than getting your diet and everything else going. But as far as a outside tool, I have not seen anything come close to this.
Okay, awesome. So what you're saying, Judy, is that anybody that wants to practice an anti-aging regimen should have ozone therapy as a regular part of what they do periodically. Maybe not every week, but they should include it in their regimen. Now,
Yeah, for
are there
sure.
specific, you've touched on some specific acute cases, inflammation, can't close your hands, or you have shoulder problems, which ozone has helped with. Are there specific acute cases that you would recommend ozone for before you go to a medical practitioner to get, antibiotics or something else?
Yeah, we can't say that, but we're gonna wink.
Okay.
That's my secret language for everybody, right? So those of you guys who are listening on the podcast, I'm winking, which means that I'm not going to say anything directly. I'm going to say something about my family. So if it was my mom, and
Yeah.
she's 86, and she was in an acute inflammatory condition, the first thing I would tell her, I says, look, mom, you're 86. Why don't we give you some capsules? Because they are very, very strong. And depending, is it something with the gut that we could heal, or something that we need to do as a suppository? That alone, because now you could have a ozonated suppository with hemp. You could actually calm the system down enough to go to the next level, right? So if it was my mom or my family member, I would say, you know what, let's try this, the next 24 hours. I have a reputation that within 3 days, I could take anybody's pain down. I just got really good at taking pain down, or digestive issues, because I had them all my life. And I said, I don't like this pain. Like, I know I need to figure this out. So I did. But most people don't have that knowledge, right? So what I recommend is, hey, look, just take the pills or take the suppositories to get it started. If you could get to an ozone therapist, the next best one by far is the sauna, because the sauna is getting the toxins out quickly, and it could take the inflammation down quickly. And people are like, well, but usually don't use heat for acute conditions. You do when you're using ozone, right? And it doesn't have to be the whole 30 minutes or whatever. It could be 15 minutes, but that ozone going into the skin is the fastest way to get it in.
Gotcha. Okay. And where would people even find an ozone sauna?
They're not, no, I'm sorry. So there's it's a steam sauna. So you could get a portable steam sauna, or you could get the cabinet sauna,
I
right?
gotcha.
So
Yeah.
your head is above, right? Because you cannot breathe it in. It's too much oxygen, it's too rich. So you have to be in a little sauna. So you could get them on Amazon. They're less than $200, or you could get the regular cabinet, less than $2,000, whatever you could fit in your home, doesn't matter. And then you sit in there, and then as you sit, then you shut the heat off, and now you allow the ozone to come in for
I
the
gotcha.
next 15 to 20 minutes. And that's how that works.
I gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. So there's lots of ways of doing this. That particular way that you talked about requires you to have an at-home ozone unit, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So understand this. There's two different types of ozone machines that everybody has to know about, because we want your crowd to be smart. We want them to make informed decisions. So
Yes.
there's these silly little ozone generators. I certainly was sucked into it as well. That looks like a standalone machine that you could ozonate water and your vegetables and all these different things for therapy. That is the worst one, because the type that Nikola Tesla created, it's called a corona plasma charger in the machine that has to be there, and it has to be a pure source. So it's like these little glass pieces that make this little, and you can see Tesla doing this, right? This little, electricity going through everything, right? And so that's what's in that machine. It has to be a cold plasma generator. and it has to have pure oxygen that is going to create that extra ozone, right? That extra ozone molecule to make the three ozone O3. So
Hmm.
you have to have an oxygen tank, an outside oxygen tank. And those little machines don't have that, right? It's just some Mickey Mouse little generator that smells like ozone, but it's not pure ozone. It's not going to do much. So you have to have a unit, just like Nikola Tesla made, and then you have to have an outside oxygen tank. And this is where we lose a lot of people because they're like, oh my God, if I have an
Yeah.
oxygen tank in my house, it's going to explode. No. So many people with COPD, they're carting around, they have the little cannula the tubing, like they're not worried about blowing up, right? So it's perfectly fine. Those little tanks are fine, but you do need an outside source. Does it have to be a medical grade? No. I have asked every ozone doctor on the planet. I said, does it make a difference? Does it have to be pure? You have to get a prescription? They said, no. So you could literally get them. There's companies that sell them. You go to a welding supply. But the point is, you have to have that to use with your ozone generator. There is that major difference. I don't want anybody to go out and spend $50 and think they're doing ozone. You're not. Okay,
Okay.
that is just playing games. You really want a serious unit if you're ready to go into that.
Hmm. Okay. Sounds good. So that's been a very entertaining discussion about how and why people should use ozone. I understand that it kills germs, bacteria. It even is effective in viruses, though we can't say that it's going to do anything with coronavirus.
Corona.
We can wink at it, but it can be effective at you know um, dealing with it, I guess. I'll just say that. Okay, so lots of benefits. There's other ways to do it. There's many ways to do it, as you said, Judy. I'm going to explore how I can get one of these units at home, so I can do this in the long term. But, there's a little bit of setup, as you mentioned. You've got to piece all these parts together or get them from a supplier. But once you have that, it should be good to go. Okay, let's move on to, I think you'd mentioned that along with doing ozone, you want to do some of the detox because ozone is going to get these things or these inflammatory cytokines or whatever have you, these molecules moving in your body, and you want them to be safely ejected. Sauna, you've brought up a couple of times, might be a good one because it's ejecting all these through your skin. How else would somebody combine an oxygen or ozone therapy with other detox pathways that you're such an expert at?
Yeah, so I've been detoxing for 30 years. I was the pizza queen of New York City and I was sick all the time. So I really got into this whole detox thing because I learned, oh, if you detox this stuff, oh, you feel better right away. Oh, that's
Mhm.
fantastic. And then slowly over the years, I changed my diet, got better, and now I have the energy that I want to have. But here's the challenge. Here's what's really sad is people don't understand detox. There's phase one and phase two. People don't even know there's two phases. It's like, okay, and I'm sure you have a smart crowd, but just to make sure, let's talk phase one, phase two. So phase one is the general, what everybody thinks, oh, I'll just go to the health food store, get a box of, herbal stuff that looks like it's going to detox my liver.
Yeah.
Okay, that herb has been sitting there for about a year. It has no potency value, and your liver is just going to say, oh, something else I got to filter out. That's not fun. So I don't recommend people doing that. It's really not a good way to go. You really got to be a little bit more extensive. But the first phase is when the liver says, hey, I've got something to filter through before the body could use it or discard it, right? And so in that first phase, and the liver has 500 functions or whatever, it's massively important now that we found out. But in that first phase is what we typically know that, oh, something poisonous or something that doesn't belong in our body, that's the stage that the liver says, okay, I'm going to filter that out and decide where it's going to go. Now, the second phase is when it starts taking the nutrients that it actually needs from the fats, from fat soluble foods and vitamins and all that, and starts saying, okay, now we have to feed the organs like the brain. Like we need to convert this and make the glycogen so that the glucose gives us energy in the long run. Like it just starts really breaking it down. This is where it's so important to get your vitamin D's and your avocados and your olive oils and get those fats in. So important in that stage too, because if you don't, then what happens is then saying, hey, that little gallbladder that's tucked underneath that liver says, hey, I'm getting too much work going on here. I can't handle it. And it starts forming stones to protect it. And that is not a good thing because that becomes very, very painful simply because phase two is not operating the way it should, right? So that said, Now let's get into the whole thing with, well, then how, should we get into the detox, and, what are we supposed to do then? And how does it connect with ozone? So real simple, when the ozone goes in there and starts killing these different things, right? It really boosts up the immune system first, so that it helps to kill off the bacteria, mold, yeast, fungus, and the other stuff, right? Winking at you. It's going to go after those things. And then what happens is you got 5 elimination channels, right? You got your skin, your lungs, your kidneys, your liver, your colon. And if it's not working the right way, as the ozone is boosting up the immune system to have this stuff killed off, where's it going to go? Your body's elimination system is blocked up, right? And it's not able to get rid of things the way it's supposed to. And so then your body's like, well, what am I supposed to do? And the liver's like, well, I'm blocked up too. I don't know what to do either. And it gets inflamed. And next thing you know, your whole body is screaming and you don't feel good. So the first reaction will be that you throw up. That I had so many throw ups in my clinic.
Really? Wow.
First got into this, people would say, well, you detox by drinking a cup of olive oil, followed by a cup of lemon juice. That's old school. This was 30 years ago. And that's how we were trained as naturopaths. And everybody got sick and everybody was throwing up. Why? It's too much. The liver can't handle that much. It needs the olive oil. It needs the lemon juice, but not in that quantity, right? So that wasn't working. So you have to slow it down quite a bit. So understand this, that you have to give the liver the opportunity to filter out nice and easy and not put so much stress on it. As it does that, when the ozone is killing off all these different things, the liver says, no problem, I could filter that out, and it's going to go out either through the urine or through the sweat or through the feces, no problem. If it doesn't, you're going to, like I said, either throw up, you're going to have rashes. I used to have a lot of rashes in my clinic with people who it was just coming out much too fast, especially with chemo and radiation. Or you're going to get dizzy and headachy and just feel like you've had a horrible hangover. So that's because you're detoxing the wrong way and too fast, right? So you got to slow it down, go nice and easy, so that as the ozone comes in, your body's like, hey, I can handle this. So the trick is, and this is where it's really tough, because everybody wants it quick, but here's the trick. Here's the secret sauce.
All right, I'm ready. I'm ready for this.
It's so easy. You're gonna cry laughing. It is that you take a small amount of ozone every day. So it's called gamma. The amount of ozone that's spit out by the ozone generator is gamma. So you could go like 10 gamma, 20 gamma, all the way to 100 gamma, right? So you want to start out maybe like 10 gamma at 2 cc's of syringe, or 2 cc quantity, right? Just very small. You're looking like this, right? Mm-hmm. You go like that every day, every day, every day. And at the same time, you're detoxing every day, every day. So you're having your detox bath, you're sweating, right? So as you sweat, and this is exactly what I'm going to do as soon as I'm done with this interview. I'm going to go have my hot sweat, and then I'm going to go in to have the ozone done, and then I'm going to relax. That is the perfect scenario, right? Just a little bit. Mm-hmm. That's the secret sauce, because if you've never detoxed, or you've only done wrong detoxes, then you're gonna have to start somewhere. So yes, the sweating is going to be helpful. And yes, having coffee enemas and colonics and liver flushes, those are all good, but you gotta go slowly, so that as the ozone kills everything, it's like, good, I'm going to get rid of it through the urine, the feces, the sweat, no problem. See, super easy. I'm telling you, everybody, Faraz, I've ever done like that, nobody gets sick. Everybody said, oh my God, I have so much energy. I said, I know, I had that 10 years ago. Like, it works. That's how it's supposed to work. You get a lot of energy. Your skin starts to glow. You start sleeping better. Your whole body's immune system is super oxygenated now. It's a win-win. It's a total win-win.
It's exciting stuff, and I can't wait to try
this out.
It's so exciting. Yeah. So let me ask you this, Judy. In the absence of having a oxygen apparatus at home, what you mentioned a couple of things people could do. They could either buy capsules, or they could, have the sticks they can put in different places. Do you have any recommendations on where people could just basically just try a couple of things before they go either buy oxygen equipment, or they go to a doctor and spend, I assume, a lot of money for
Well,
somebody
okay,
who's.
so let's just talk about it. So let's say the pills are like maybe like $65 for a month's supply,
Mhm.
right? You take it 2, 3 times a day, right? That's nothing. Suppositories are maybe $7,500. That's not
Mhm.
much, right?
Yeah.
You do it for the month. I would always start there if people are a little bit hesitant. But now, when people come to me with cancer and autoimmune, which is typically what I get, I said, no, listen, dude, you either get a machine or you come here and we get things going,
Mhm.
and you're going to have to go home with one. I mean, it's that serious because this is how I know it works, right?
Yeah.
So let's start out. So they could do the capsule suppositories. If they get their own apparatus, roughly everything together, it's going to be about 2 grand if they're going to do it right,
Mhm.
right? And that means, making sure they know their protocols, working with somebody to get it set up, just having everything done right. So that
Yeah.
kind of, but again, if you're going to go for the MAH shots here in the United States, it could be anywhere from $700 to $1,500. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now you're getting a reference point.
Mhm.
If it was my family member and I knew that there was an ozone doc somewhere nearby, like within an hour distance, I'd say, go get the shot, spend the 1,500. I don't care, but it's that fast that they're going to see results.
Mhm.
Now we're on the right track, right? And then you could always work on the other things, but you got to get that pain and inflammation down. You got to lower it, because without that,
Yeah.
the body's immune system is compromised. And
Mhm.
this is the problem right now with the pandemic. Everybody's stress, emotionally and mental, is making everybody more inflamed, which is
Yeah.
why they're not sleeping. Everybody's complaining about chronic fatigue. Everybody's complaining about not feeling good, depressed, anxiety. I'm happy as happy can be, but I'm also doing my ozone, right? So I
Yeah.
tell them, I says, listen, you need to bring your pain and inflammation down. You need to go to the beach, walk, or do something. You need to bring it down before you could deal with the root issue. And many of them have serious illnesses, everything from Epstein-Barr to lupus to Lyme's to cancer to, Hashimoto's. So it's important to bring that down. And I would recommend go get the ozone done by somebody who does at least MAH, which is the one shot. Get
Mhm.
it ozonated, put it back in, done is done. And that way they could feel the difference, right? And they could
Yeah.
see that, oh, this is not that big a deal. It's fine. It's safe. Not a
Mhm.
problem, right?
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. In terms of the suppositories or the pills that you brought up, Judy, are there any brands? I know we don't want to just list out, brands in favor of others, but are there any particulars that you really love? Because it's hard, right? People go on Amazon and they don't really know what they're getting half the
Yeah,
time.
I'll put a special link below for your listeners and viewers, because I ran into the same problem. The customer service on these places is horrible. They
Hmm.
just don't. There's very, very few companies who make it, because it is very labor intensive. Like I said, to make an ozonated oil, it could take up to 3 weeks, right?
Yeah.
So that's very labor intensive. So I decided to work with a manufacturer. I am now private labeling, I'm stocking up, and
Hmm.
I'm dealing with the people myself, because I know how to take care of people. I know how to give a good protocol. I know how to show them how to detox. I include all of that just for buying a bottle,
Awesome.
right?
Awesome.
But what
Yeah.
I'm really working on is any doctors. So doctors who are listening and watching, listen, I want to help you guys. Let's get it in these smaller clinics. So for example, this year, David Asprey, who put Bulletproof on the shelves,
Hmm.
and great big biohacker, I'm sure a lot of you guys know,
Yeah.
interviewed somebody to put ozone on the map.
Hmm.
Fantastic.
Hmm.
Dr. Mark Hyman just interviewed a medical doctor in Italy, and who is a neuro ozone therapy specialist. And they both said the exact same thing. We need to get this in clinics, right? We need to get it in the doctor's offices, right? And a lot of doctors are just, they don't know either. They don't know a lot about ozone. It's a very small group of people that know about it, right?
Hmm.
So let's get the word out. Let's like, hey, let's talk to them. And I'm working with these doctors to train them, get this stuff in their office so it's more prevalent, right?
Yeah.
But in the meantime, at least your people have choices of saying, oh, I could do this, I could do this, I could do this. It's always good to have choices.
Yeah. No, thank you for that, Judy. And I appreciate you sharing the link. I'll put it in the show notes right below so people can start to dabble with oxygen. Of course, as you said, if you have more acute conditions, you should probably go find a practitioner first and get that first shot so you can see a difference immediately. But if you're just like, hey, I want to be preventative with anti-aging, this may be a way where you kind of just dose up and see how you feel on a day-to-day basis. So I'll include that link down below. So Judy, thanks so much. By the way, we're coming up on time. But in terms of where people can find you and how they can work with you if they wanted to, where can they find you? What's a link or a website they can go to?
Yeah, I'm all over the internet. I worked hard to get my name out there. So I have a massive YouTube channel. People could go there. Facebook, it's always the same. My name and then detox. So it's Judy Seeger Detox. That's simple. Seeger. You could put my name up and it just turns up all over the place. So that it's not hard. And I answer my own phone. People could text me, call me, email me. Everything is under Judy Seeger Detox. And I'd be more than happy to help you people.
That's awesome. Thank you very much, Judy, again for your time. And folks, if you're wondering about ozone and detox, this is the expert. So definitely check out her website. And she's offered to take phone calls as well. So you could potentially,
Sure do.
be calling her. So again, thank you so much, Judy. And we hope to talk to you soon.
Thank you.